Hey guys, welcome to That Florida Feeling. I hope everybody's had a good week. Thank you for understanding that I've not been on social media a lot this week. It has been a really rough week. I'm not even going to lie to you guys. Really scary week for me. I ended up getting E. coli, which is not fun. It's pretty scary. I'm not going to share the details with you, as you would probably not listen to the rest of this episode. So thank you to everybody who checked on me. I am feeling 90% better than I was when I put that post up, but I am nowhere near 100%. This is going to be a shorter episode than normal, as I am just trying to get an episode out this week. So it's going to be what I'm going to call a mini episode. Something about Florida that I think is kind of cool, but nowhere near as long as it normally is, because I don't know how long it's going to be that I can make it through this episode. But thank you to everybody who checked on me. I hope you guys enjoyed the replay of the godmother of cocaine. I got some really good feedback about it, so thank you. Today we're going to talk about the Conch Republic. And if you've ever been towards Key West, you've probably heard of the Conch Republic. The Conch Republic is actually a micronation, which, if you're like, what's a micronation? A micronation is a political entity whose representative claim that they belong to an independent nation or a sovereign state, but lacks the actual legal recognition of anything. So they think they're a state, but they're really not. So the Conch Republic is a micronation declared as a sarcastic secession of the city of Key West of Florida from the U.S. on April 23rd, 1982. Yep, so that was a thing. And it's kind of still a thing, and it has been maintained as a tourism booster for the city ever since. Since then, the term Conch Republic has been expanded to refer to all of the Florida Keys, or the geographic apportionment. I've never even heard of an apportionment, but whatever. The geographic apportionment of land that falls within illegally defined boundaries of Monroe County, Florida. Northwest to Skeeter's Last Chance Saloon in Florida City, Dade County, Florida. And Key West as the micronation's capital. And all territories north of Key West being referred to as its northern territories. So yes, there are defined boundaries of said Conch Republic. So if you've ever been through the Keys, you've been to the micronation of the Conch Republic. There have been protests that sparked the creation of the Conch Republic and others since then that have been described by some as tongue-in-cheek, that were actually motivated by genuine concerns. So this actually started as what would be considered genuine concerns, and there actually are still genuine concerns in the Keys. And the original protest was actually even motivated by an event thanks to the U.S. Border Patrol, which was a roadblock and checkpoint that pretty much pissed off a lot of residents and tourists, and that's really what wanted people to create the Conch Republic. And the Conch Republic still celebrates their Independence Day every April 23rd. So if you're ever in Key West on April 23rd, you will be a part of a week-long festival of activities that mainly takes place in Key West, which includes a lot of booze and fun. And there is even a local rum distillery that gets into it. But it is kind of their Independence Day, and they still celebrate it. And it is a huge tourism boost to the Keys and Key West. So what really brought about the Conch Republic other than a roadblock? So let's talk about it. So in 1982, the U.S. Border Patrol set up a roadblock and inspection point on US 1 just north of the merger of Monroe County 905A and Miami-Dade County Road 905A, which is onto US 1, which basically this is the only two roads that connect the Keys to the mainland. And if you've ever driven to the Florida Keys, you know that there is only one road in and one road out. And basically they did this right in front of the Last Chance Saloon, just south of Florida City. So basically vehicles were stopped and searched for narcotics and illegal immigrants. And if you've ever been to a roadblock, you know that this is a really inconvenient thing because it just stops traffic. And yes, while there are good reasons to have roadblocks, in 1982, this is the war on drugs, and I feel that these people were probably honestly just being assholes. So they did this roadblock, And the Key West City Council complained repeatedly about the inconvenience for travelers getting to and from Key West, because it really did stop traffic. And it hurt the Keys tourism, and it really kind of did just make people not even want to travel, because this was not just one day. This was pretty much an ongoing kind of roadblock. Eastern Airlines, which had a hub at Miami International Airport, also saw a window of opportunity when the roadblocks were established. And Eastern at the time was really the only airline to establish a jet service to Key West International. And so it kind of decided to hey, we can fly you from Miami to Key West if you don't want to have your vehicle searched or you don't want to wait in traffic. So that kind of boosted their tourism, but the city council continued to complain to the U.S. government, and the U.S. government, being the U.S. government, really didn't listen and really didn't care. So the city council attempted to get an injunction against the roadblock in federal court, and of course it failed. So as a form of protest, Mayor Dennis Wardlow and the council decided to declare Key West an independent micronation on April 23rd, 1982. And in the eyes of the council, since the U.S. federal government had set up the equivalent of a border station, as if they were a foreign nation, they might as well become one. So Key West was now the Conch Republic. And as many local citizens were now referred to as Conchs, they just took up the Conch Republic. And as part of the protest, Mayor Wardlow now proclaimed himself the prime minister of this new republic, which immediately, because what else would you do, declared war against the United States. They symbolically broke a loaf of stale Cuban bread over the head of a man dressed in a naval uniform, and quickly surrendered 1 minute after to the man in the same uniform, and applied for $1 billion in foreign aid. Because, they didn't really have a navy, or an army, or any really standing military. But they were now a micronation, and they now needed to apply to aid because, well, I guess they were now a republic, and I don't know if you would consider them third world or not. Either way, they now were an independent nation, and they could do this kind of thing. The Conch Republic officials were even invited to the Summit of Americas in Miami in 1994. And the representatives were even officially invited to 1995's Florida Jubilee. The faux secession and the events surrounding it generated enough publicity to the Keys' plight that the roadblock and inspection station were removed soon afterwards, and it actually created massive tourism for the Keys. So it worked. It actually worked. So then on September 20th of 1995, it was reported that the 478th Civilian Affairs Battalion of the United States Army Reserve was to conduct a training exercise simulating invasion of a foreign island. So basically, they were going to land on Key West and conduct affairs as if the islanders were foreign. However, no one from the 478th notified the officials of the exercise. So basically, the Conch Republic was now invaded in 1995. So there was a true invasion of the Conch Republic in 1995. Seeing another chance at publicity, Wardlow and the forces behind the 1982 Conch Republic secession mobilized the island for a full-on war, sending schooners, and the first schooner, the main schooner, the Western Union, out to attack incoming Coast Guard cutters with water balloons, conch fritters, and stale Cuban bread, to which the Coast Guard responded with their fire hoses, which obviously ended the battle very fast, as the Western Union was none prepared nor able to combat this, and protested to the Department of Defense for arranging the exercise without consulting any city officials nor warning anyone on the island of the impending battle. Leaders of the 478th quickly issued apologies the next day, saying they in no way meant to challenge nor impugn the sovereignty of the Conch Republic, and issued a surrender ceremony on September 22nd. So there was actually an invasion of the Conch Republic that still stood, and then there was a surrender ceremony on the 22nd of 1995. During the U.S. government shutdown of 95 and 96, a protest As a protest, the Republic sent a flotilla of the Conch Navy, civilian and fire department boats to Fort Jefferson, located in the Dry Tortuga National Park, which, if you've ever been, is about 1 to 2 hours away from Key West, to reopen it. The action was dubbed a full-scale invasion by said Conch Republic, and inspired by efforts of the Smithsonian Institution to keep the museums open by private donations, local residents, and they had actually raised private money to keep the park running, as a closed park would damage tourism depending on the local economy, which, if you've ever been to Key West, there actually is ferries, boats, and seaplanes that actually take people to the Dry Tortugas. So this actually did truly impact their economy. But when they went to the Dry Tortugas, unfortunately, they could find no one to accept the money or reopen the park, as during a federal shutdown, all employees were sent home, which actually sucks for the economy of Key West. When officials attempted to enter the monument, they were cited. When the citation was contested in court the following year, the resultant case, the United States of America v. Peter Anderson, it was quickly dropped. Apparently no one wants to mess with the Conch Republic. On January 13, 2006, Peter Anderson, again the defendant in the Dry Tortugas case from the 1995 to 1996, purported to annex the abandoned span of the 7 Mile Bridge. If you've ever driven to the Keys, you know you drive over the 7 Mile Bridge, and there is a span of the bridge that is basically abandoned in the water. They shot part of, I cannot think of it because I don't feel good. It's one of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, the final battle scene. It's him and Jamie Lee Curtis. I want to say Collateral Damage. I'm probably going to get yelled at because that might not be the right movie. But that's the scene they shot. That's the bridge they shot it on. But that basically just bridge that just sits out in the middle of the water. You drive past it. They wanted to annex the abandoned span of the 7 Mile Bridge, which had been replaced to a parallel span in 1982, and that's the part you drive on today. And the move was in response to the recent event regarding the Cuban refugees. On the previous January 4th, 15 Cuban refugees actually reached the bridge, but were returned to Cuba by the U.S. Border Patrol because the U.S. government had declared the bridge a wet feet location under the wet feet, dry feet policy. Which I've kind of talked about that. The wet feet, dry feet, or wet foot, dry foot policy was the name given to an interpretation of the 1995 revision of the policy, which any immigrant who actually got to dry land could stay and try to go through the immigration policy. And that's huge in the Keys. But Peter Anderson actually wanted to annex that abandoned span of the 7 Mile Bridge, and the rationale behind it was that since 2 sections of the span had been removed and was no longer connected to land, it was not part of the U.S. territory, subject to the dry foot rule, and thus refugees cannot stay. Therefore, he thought that he wanted to claim it for the Republic. Since the U.S. basically disavowed it and abandoned it, he didn't see why the Republic couldn't claim it. And he expressed hope to use the bridge as an affordable, ecological-friendly housing, which, I mean, I get that. It's hard to access except by boat. I guess you could build stairs to it, but his logic kind of makes sense. He expressed hope to use the bridge as friendly housing, but in response, Russell Schweiss, a spokesman for Florida Governor at the time, Jeb Bush, declared, "With all due respect to the Conch Republic, the bridge belongs to all the people of Florida, and we have no negotiations to currently sell it at this time." The refugee decision was later overturned, but only after the refugees had all been returned to Cuba. So basically, the Conch Republic does not own the 7 Mile Bridge to this date, and it still belongs to the state of Florida, or all the people of Florida, even though you can't really get to it unless you're on a boat, and even then you can't really use it. But the Conch Republic is not dead. They still protest to this day. In other protest history, beginning in 2008, the Northern Keys, including Key Largo, actually formed a separation of the Conch Republic, known as the Independent Northernmost Territories of the Conch Republic. Proponents claim that this separation is a result of the disagreements over the definition and use of the term Conch Republic. So now there might be 2 separate Conch Republics. And as of 2022, the southernmost buoy also mentions the Conch Republic. There is a Conch Republic website, and there's also a flag. The Republic issues passports as souvenirs, although some people actually joke that these are legitimate travel and identity documents. These are not. Although there is a tie to the 9/11 attacks, apparently the FBI investigators thought that one of the hijackers had possibly purchased one of the Conch Republic passports thinking it was legitimate. He got it through the websites. There is an international vehicle registration code sticker that can also be purchased from vendors in Key West bearing KW or CR, which to us means Key West or Conch Republic, but it also could stand for Kuwait or Costa Rica, respectively. So the Conch Republic is out there just doing its own thing. The Conch Republic also now apparently kind of jokingly maintains a standing Army, Navy, and Air Force, whose primarily duties are to help reenact the Great Sea Battle of 1982 and the retaking of Fort Jefferson from 95 and 96. The Conch Republic Navy is comprised of no fewer than 10 civilian boats. The schooner Wolf, under the command of Admiral Finbar Gittleman. The Army consists of the 1st Conch Army, garrisoned at Fort Taylor, which actually sits off of Key West. The Conch Republic Air Force has more than a dozen appointed aircrafts in its fleet. The flagship is a 1942 Waco, which was flown by Fred R. Cabanas, a legendary stunt pilot and ambassador for the Conch Republic at air shows worldwide. He flew the Conch Fury at the 2005 Reno Air Races. Fred was declared General of the Air Force by the mayor of Key West after intercepting a deflecting Cuban MiG-23 with his Pitts Specials in 1991. Following his death in 2013, Fred was succeeded by his son, Raymond Cabanas. So there is a standing Air Force, Army, and Navy at this point for the Conch Republic. They are ready in case of anything. But the Conch Republic does stand. It stands as a sarcastic reminder not to mess with the Keys. And of course, the Conch Republic is celebrated every year. It's a fun thing. It's also got its own national anthem. In 1994, Joe and Mary Lynn Britz wrote a national anthem for the Conch Republic. It was recorded by the Key Lime Pie Band and voted on by the Key West City Commissioners. It is called the Conch Republic. It's also talked about a bit in literature. Really, Key West really has always been known as doing its own thing. So when you go down there and you really just get to experience Key West and you get to experience the Conch Republic, you know, it's no surprise that they seceded and just kind of did their own thing. And it really is funny that it's in response to a roadblock and their own kind of tourism. And it really did boost their tourism, and it really does to this day. So if you ever get the chance to go to Key West and become a citizen of the Conch Republic, at least for a day, if not more. And while you're down there, don't be surprised if you see anything. Key West is one of the funnest places I've ever been. It's full of history. It's full of ghosts. It's definitely full of drunks and Florida man. But while you're down there, become a citizen of the Conch Republic and enjoy yourself. All right, guys. Thanks for listening to this mini episode of That Florida Feeling. I should be back to my normal next week, feeling a lot better. Thank you for all the well wishes. I hope you guys have a great week. Drink your water. Be nice to one another. And as always, guys, that's your daily dose of sunshine.
This podcast is a production of Unfiltered Studios. If you would like to know more about joining Unfiltered Studios, please visit our website at unfpod.com for more information.